Right, if I pressed all the buttons correctly, you might be here this time. I might be here this time and not disappearing. If you're one of the 50 people at the start of the stream, thank you for joining me at the very start of the stream. And if you're one of the many people who watch afterwards, thank you for watching afterwards. And like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. So hello, can you hear me, everyone? Are the comms good? Do I need to adjust sound or vision or anything? And if anyone is here who was away at the, let me be here for the sound okay, things okay, light okay, comms are good, and the Stay on Target team are in the house. I hope so. Keep me on track. But on this video, I don't want you to keep me on track as much as you normally keep me on track, because on this video I want to wax lyrical about the Warhammer 40k rules, and I was really struggling to think of a name for this live stream because I want to delve down into it. We've got 10th edition coming next year potentially. Lots of leaks or little rumors or suspicions or intrigue about when it's coming and how. I mean, we know Leagues of Votan are coming soon, and then it's just the Guard. That takes us to Christmas, surely. And then a run with our codexes, a good 4 or 5 months with the Guard codex, maybe 6, before a new edition drops. So I want to talk about the Warhammer 40k rules. What are the best Warhammer 40k rules? What to be done with the Warhammer 40k rules? Give my take on the Warhammer 40, what I think Warhammer 40k rule system should look like. I've got a lot on my brain that I want to dump out, and I hope this will serve as a bit of a signpost from me to people when they ask about rules. Again, my community is here. Thanks for you coming along. 68 of you now. Thank you for coming. I see lots of... I'm getting better at this, aren't I? Actually looking at the stream. I see a lot of names that I remember, such as Das and Des and Jerome and Inquisitive X. So thank you for coming along. And of course, Hugo. Thank you for all being here. So yeah, don't keep me on track as much, because we're going to wander all over the place unless I start talking about, I don't know, cake and things. But yes, we're going to go everywhere about Warhammer 40k rules, how the Warhammer 40k rules should be written, how I believe the Warhammer 40k rules should be written, not what I think or what I think personally myself, but what I've gathered from talking and interacting with so many people in the community, and also not what I prefer. These rules, I haven't got a dog in this fight. Well, I will prefer all the rules that I advocate for. I will shout for all the rules that I advocate for, otherwise I wouldn't be advocating for. But the version of rules and some of the interactions, I'm happy to negotiate, to talk, to have a discussion with you people about the rules, with you people, with my lovely community. So yeah, how the Warhammer 40k rules should be written according to Winter's SEO and based on his vast experience of playing Warhammer 40k for a very long time, and of course for being the 2021 No Retreat Legends champion. And I'm going to mention that, like Dr. Disrespect being the 1998-1999 blockbuster video game champion. I'm going to mention it. 20 years time I'll still be here. I'll be very old. I'll nearly be 70, but I'll still be here ranting about it, maybe, hopefully. Jug of water a day. Got to keep your fluids up. But before we do, a big shout out and a big thank you to everyone who came along to the DZTV Weekender at Element Games in Manchester. And thank you to Element Games for hosting us. Element Games in Manchester has got a bar and can fit 100 people in their hobby hall, and they sell all sorts of things from 40k all the way up. And there's a link if in some video descriptions, and there's a link in my about page on YouTube, and if you click on that link and buy your stuff online, your hobby supplies through the link, then you get double crystals, and they're like points, and they actually they come in. If you keep buying from there, you'll make a lot of savings, and we get crystals every time you spend crystal, every time you are in there too. So it's like a loyalty, not a loyalty scheme. What is it called? It's a something scheme, affiliate scheme. So if you use the link to Element Games, it's another way to support me. And we were there at the weekend for the DZTV Weekender, and thank you to everyone who came. The first day was the open day, the second day being the Hobby Apocalypse Get Day. And what a crowd. I love this community. And there were a few people there who had never been before and had heard online, oh, this community is wonderful. And they came along and found out the community was wonderful. I'm sure there are some out there that had a bad experience, or it wasn't as wonderful to them as they thought it might be as wonderful to them. But everyone that I spoke to and everyone I interacted with and everyone I played with and all my tomfoolery and all my jumping around all over the place, well, I had a great time. And everyone I spoke to seemed to have a good time. And it was an international. Joining us at the Deployment Zone Weekender was people from Germany, the Netherlands, America, and South Africa. We've gone international. I'm international. People come around the world to see me. Had nothing to do with visiting Warhammer World while they were here or spending a couple of days in Nottingham or London or anything like that. No, it's all to see me at the event. And I played the German there. And he was a lovely guy, Tomato of Doom. Hi, Tomato of Doom, if you're in the chat, if you're watching this. He was a lovely guy. And he won in the last turn of the game by 5 points. As part of the raffle on the second day for Hobbypocalypse, the Hobbypocalypse boys, that video is now up on YouTube. You remember them from last year? We did it again this year. Are there any Hobbypocalypse, Hobby boys, any of the 4 horsemen in the chat, or maybe the 5th horseman? No, anyway, so they would. So they decided, as well as in the raffle, to give me away as a prize, and the German won me. I think it was a bit of a booby prize, but he seemed to have fun. And it was Necron hate. He brought along his Necron list, so I unleashed the Cadian dynasty on him, and he blew up my monolith in turn 1. So that was 330, 2 1,500 point games. And he killed my 300 point monolith in turn 1 before I did anything. So I had 1,200 points and he had 1,500 points and had some wraiths and some destroyers, and he took them apart bit by bit. But the wraiths were causing issues in the back line, and the cards were good for him, the cards were good for me. But towards the end I only had a few warriors left, and he still had some Scorpex left and some flyers zipping around that I couldn't do anything about, and a stalker, which is shit, in the middle of the battle grid, and essentially pushed me to the very edges and won by 5 points. So what a legend. And if you're in Germany, if you're in the German area, I was going to say, but if you're in Germany and in the Deployment Zone TV Discord, shout out to Tomato of Doom. He's in Hamburg? I don't know where he is. He's in one of the big cities, so there'll be someone. He's near you, and he's got a hobby place set up. And I know there's quite a few people in Germany in the Discord as well. To get in the deploymentzone.tv Discord, join deploymentzone.tv, and you automatically have access to the Discord. If you become a patron of DZTV, then you unlock the full Discord. Or you could become a member of, I feel like I'm shaking the can, but let's get this out of the way. Or you can become a member of my community, my private little community that I've only set up in the last couple of months. And you get access to my Discord and all the campaigns. We're running the Bell Tolls is currently in the, so we've got all of the Silver Cage campaign is in the YouTube. The Bell Tolls is in the YouTube, and part 3 is coming out tomorrow. I haven't edited it yet, but it's coming out tomorrow, probably late. And I've got a few more things lined up for the YouTube community, including answering feedback and questions for the STC from my Discord. That's for the STD cast, but the 40k deep dive podcast, that's going to be infrequent, every 4 or 6 weeks, things like that, where me and Quipster have the time, because he's a busy man and he lives a long way away, and he's not as organised as Warsmith Chris. Warsmith Chris is an organised puppy. It's very strange, whereas me and Quipster, we're more all over the place. Anyway, so all that happened. Oh, and if you want to meet me and have a chance to hang out and game and have a lot of fun, there is another event called the Wild West Showdown on the 8th of October. 100-player event. I think there's only 40 tickets left. 100-player event in Cardiff on the Saturday, the 8th of October. It's only 15 quid. It's 2 games. It's not a tournament. It's a meet and greet. Everyone getting together, having 2 games in Firestorm, in Cardiff. I'll be there. I think 3 of the SEOs are coming with me. And, of course, Monkey, Stylus, many of the people that you've seen on the tubes. And I'll be giving away as a prize there as well, because I can't play everybody. So I'll be in the raffle there. And to get tickets to the Wild West Showdown, you either become a member of my community And then the video and the links are there. It's in the Discord as well, or you become a member of the Deployment Zone community. So I think I've done all that. That's done. So thank you to all the wonderful people who were there this weekend. Thank you to you crazy international people from coming all around the world. Tiger was the American lad who flew all the way over with his wife and went to Warhammer World, spending a few days in... He's coming down to Oxford soon, and then he's getting on a train to meet me. So he basically hit me up saying, hey, I'm coming to the Deployment Zone weekend. I'm like, don't. You can't fly across the pond just to play Warhammer 40k at Element Games in Manchester. It's a sweat fest. And it's a lovely occasion, and everyone will worship the ground you walk on because you flew so far, and your army was gorgeous because we saw it all in the Discord. But it's crazy, and it's a crazy amount of money, and the trains aren't running, and and the wife isn't into it that much as well. So it wasn't like, it wasn't like both of them really love Warhammer 40k and both of them have armies, no, it was just him with bringing his wife along. So then he hit me up to say, while I'm in the UK, can we play a game? And the answer to that, of course, is yes, of course we could play a game. It's the least I can do. So he's here on Wednesday. And he's coming on Wednesday with his gorgeous Imperial Knights, his Chaos Knights. And I don't know what to put up against Chaos Knights because they're quite mean. Obviously Chaos Knights as well, because it's also easier to travel around. So what do I put up against Chaos? What do you mean the Wild West 2? It's Wild West, Wild Wester, that's the one. It's Wild West or Wild... It's the Wild West Showdown. That's what it's called. There's a video on YouTube for YouTube members. And there's links and things. But I think against Knights, I'm tempted to bring OG 13th. He's flown all the way from America. But I don't know if I can bring about enough. I don't think OG Space Marines have got the Knight counter. I don't know. What do you guys think? Death Guard could tank Knights, you're right. And I could chuck Mortarion in there. But Mortarion versus Knights feels a bit broken because Mortarion can one-shot Knights. And if I one-shot a couple of Knights, then it's a big swing. Tiger's Chaos Knights are gorgeous, Aussie. Monkey's here as well. I'll allow it, he says. No showdown. What do you mean no showdown? Oh yeah, it's Monkey's event at the Wild West Showdown. Who's Monkey's also featuring in that thing that I said, the Bell Tolls campaign available to members in the Deployment Zone. .tv. We're currently at the moment for the Deployment Zone. Liam's doing a lot of backstage, behind the scenes work on the website. We're refreshing all the website up as well. Because like Liam's website's freshened, my website is freshened. Look, I've got merch. There we go, merch. These things are ridiculously expensive. You link it to your YouTube. There's like a shop thing that you can link on YouTube. And I picked the first one, and you can't set the prices. It's the price that they want for it, because I guess YouTube has to take its cut, and the shop that actually makes this has to make its cut. And look at that. Cat, my wife designed that one. This is the way the world ends. And then she bought it for me, because I have to pay full price for it too. But it's absolutely lovely. And there's a few more things. So she's set up quite a few different t-shirts and mugs and things in the I should be using it really, but I was trying to finish my jug of water a day. I'll pour my jug of water in the moment is SEO cup. What is wrong with my voice today? I'll tell you what's wrong with my voice. I've been talking all weekend, having so much fun. My back hurts a little bit because of the tables. I must have been on my feet for 16 or 18 hours on the Saturday, 16 let's say, and 12 on the Saturday, 12 on the Sunday, and I've given up drinking. Which is, I haven't had a drink in 3 weeks, and the plan is to stop drinking altogether. Which is something I thought I would never hear myself say. And I was away at this weekend on the Saturday and Sunday. People were getting drunk on the Friday night and the Saturday night, and I didn't drink. It helped that I was with Monkey and Stylus as well, who both don't drink. And Sultan was hanging out, and he only had one beer, because he's got surgery on his ear in a week's time. I don't know. I forget. Ear. That sort of thing. What's going on in the chat before I dive into how the Warhammer 40K's Rules should be written. So talk to me, people. Talk to me, Goose. Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose. Has everyone seen Maverick? It's up there with like Titanic apparently these days. It's a good movie. Who doesn't like war in this chat? We like war and Hammer, and we're going to talk. Right, so a chat. Monkey, high five for no drinking. Thank you. Robert White, great to hear. Your liver thanks you. The Chronostrain effects and Exocrine are ridiculously powerful. That must be about something else. Complementing the merch. Thank you. Beer and flat caps. No beer. Not selling flat caps. I did a short on it. I had a few Friday nights. Got Norway's biggest tournament coming up. Okay, so well, good luck at the tournament of Oxokimo. Yes, Maverick was a great movie from Joseph. 30k campaign planned. Not planned, Kilroy V2. There isn't a 30k campaign planned, but there is definitely one. There's a goal to get one. So working on the 30k stuff. Now, there will be 4 the Isfahan, 4 loyalists, 3 loyalists. The Isfahan 3 legions, the 4 loyalist ones, and I want to do an Isfahan 3 campaign, and I want it all wrap and running by this time next year, so out by summer hopefully. And I want to do 1 or 2 full campaigns on Isfahan 3 in the Slaughter at the Coral City. Before it was Exterminatus. No, after it was Exterminatus, because it's the tens of thousands that survived the virus bombs, the live heater virus. Anyway, I'm going off track. Thanks for the hands in the end. Just sitting here painting my Stormhost. Good. Innocence, my friend, recently came up with the idea of picking up 5 notes, so we'll get onto the rules in a minute. Is no drinking due to that stream Leon did at Element, which is no longer public? It wasn't to do with that at all, no. The reason I didn't stop drinking because of a stream I did once. I've stopped drinking partially for health. I've stopped drinking for health physically and mentally. Yeah, it's a depressant and it's not good for me on more than one way. Maverick didn't have enough flat caps. It did not know. How many games of 30k have you played thus far? None. The plan is Jerome's coming up here. Sam N is coming up here. A couple of people that I've met and played games with recently or on YouTube or in the deployment zone or on the members. Jerome in Necromunda Season 2. I need to put that down for members. I'm going to put Necromunda Season 1 and Season 2 in for the members as well. As a big thank you. Yeah, I've got games planned in for those to come round. Not planned in, actually. Nothing planned on my calendar there, but I've got them. We're talking. And then I need to play at least 5 games and get comfortable with everything before I film a battle report. And I've got 3,000 points worth of Mechanicum next door, and I want to do a live video. This is another thing on the back burner. I want to do a live video on my 30k Horus Heresy Mechanicum army. And not live video, but record a video, like a 20-minute long clip to show you what I've got and what it does and things like that. I think YouTube just flickered. Where are we? How many? How are you going to be good for an old player? I lost interest. Start learning to play after too much. So winners for 40k. What armies are you debating about besides Ultramarines? All of them. Stay off target. Good. So winters, are you considering starting another new 40k army? So I've still got about 3,000 points worth of Necrons to finish off. I brought the entire Cadian dynasty up to the DZTV Weekender at Element Games and put it out on the table on the Sunday along with the Hobby Apocalypse armies. About 5,000, 6,000 points. I've got about 3,000 more points of Necrons to go, so I'm still working on that. Then it's going to be the Horus Heresy armies, and then I've got ideas for armies that I want to do for 40k, yes. I've always wanted to do, and been talking about for at least 2 years now, a new Space Marine chapter, the Iron Hands Space Marine chapter, because I want to do lots of conversions on their Heresy 30k models, because they've really stood out. Them and the Thousand Sons, during the Horus Heresy, the Thousand Sons and the Iron Hands looked notably different from the other legions. Some of the other legions actually look quite similar to each other, except for a slap of paint, but they look notably different because of both their formations and what they did to their armors. And I want to do in 40k verse, a heavily converted half Admech, half mech looking, half Iron Hands looking, highly cybernetic Iron Hands army. And I imagine doing them all Gravis, and I imagine that I'll start this when 10th edition drops, because there's lots of rumours about new stuff coming, like Primaris Terminators, Primaris Assault guys. We haven't really got them there, and it would be really cool if they were jump assault, not just in the jumpy dudes. So yeah, that. Stay on target. What are we doing? You lost me. Yeah, okay, sorry. Did you do a video on how to paint your... Yes, I did do a video on how to paint my 30k army Mechanicum Kilroy. It's in the battle. There's a tutorials one. Right, 20 minutes in, and I haven't hit the subject, so let's hit the subject. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Someone in the chat, put up your hands. I need a volunteer, please. You know how this works, chat. We do this together. We make our way through this together. There's, of course, the trophy down in the corner of the room. Thank you to urbanmats.com. Get your battle mats from urbanmats.com. They don't pay me, but they send me free stuff. And they've sent me some more stuff. I've got an idea for a table I want to put together and some battle mats and things like this. Hands up from Christian Kopang. Thank you for putting your hands up. You need to pin a comment. So when this goes live, write a comment. Don't pin it yourself. Write a comment saying he actually begins to start the subject, how the Warhammer 40k's rules should be written at this time, and write that in the comment section of the video when it goes live, and I'll pin it at the top. Thank you for volunteering. What do you mean, not me, Inquisitive X? So I already nominated you, sir, to become a mod, and you're doing a jolly good job. So far, we haven't been invaded by Slaneshi sex bots. I'm sure they're coming. And maybe YouTube live streaming sorted that out, because it seemed to be a plague for a while. The Inquisitors have fortified the Inquisitor bots have fortified the defenses. Okay, good, right. I don't know how to start this subject, so I'll just start rambling. And this is the subject, how the Warhammer 40k's rules should be written. We're going to cover a lot of ground here. But I basically got some ideas that I want to talk through with you guys and get off my chest. I pause every now and then. But 10th edition is coming, and there's been many versions of Warhammer 40k we've seen, and people ask me, well, what would you do, or what would you think of this rule, or blah blah blah. I get asked a lot of questions, and I have a lot of thoughts just like anyone else, and I've been in the hobby for a while, and I've seen rules come and go, and I've seen some armies come out of fashion, and some armies seen it wax and wane. I've seen it become balanced and less balanced and even less balanced and more complex. And so, just like you, I have some thoughts on it, which I hope someone at Games Workshop will listen to, because maybe in my, hopefully an hour long rant from here, this video should finish about 60 minutes from now. Hopefully after this, a percentage of it gets through, even a little nug of it gets through. And hopefully if some of it is insane, you'll tell me that it's insane. So let's talk about it. So Speckled Gem has given the first donation of the evening. Thank you so much for your donation. Thank you, brother. Great to meet you. And the Horseman yesterday. I met you then. It was an awesome day. I'll definitely try to do the full weekend next time. Also stay off target. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I'm terrible with names. You know I'm terrible with names. Tiger's wife, who's coming on Wednesday, who's introduced me about 5 times. I've forgotten her name. Okay. Legendary raffle winner, was he? Okay, cool. So Warhammer 40k, the rule system. I want to start talking. This is what they should look like. This is the best version of the rules they can do. And it comes down to universal special rules. So let me ramble on. There is the rule system: hit, wound, move, save. And we've seen different ways that's put together, different iterations of that. But inside the core rules, the foundational rules, be it 30k, 40k, whatever it might be, hit, wound, save, armor save, those sorts of things, every games have this system, are the special rules which tie it together. And there's lots of there were more universal special rules in the time of 7th edition and before. And there are still special rules now. But the special rules that we have, special rules are rules that break the core rule set, that adjust the core rule set. So anything that says is plus to hit or minus is to hit. I'll give you some examples of special rules. A special rule is a rule that isn't included in the object's datasheet. So here's a datasheet in D&D or 40k or AOS, but let's stick to 40k for now, how the 40k rules should be written. Here's their datasheet, and this is their stat line, and this is their weapons, and that's what they do. And then if there are any rules that are not on that clear datasheet, however that's presented, that's a special rule. So ones that exist that are... So character, for example, character is a special rule. Things like objective secured, that's a special rule. Things like vehicle, that's a special rule. And then, of course, all the things on their datasheet that are not included in there, such as army-wide special rules, relics, warlord traits, stratagems, upgrades for that datasheet, and then rules that are written, such as disgustingly resilient or armor of contempt. These are all special rules. These are rules that exist within the game, within the framework of the game. And they used to be more condensed in a universal special rule set, and then they broke that apart to make the game as easy as possible, and now they're spread out throughout all the codexes. What they need to do is bring the universal rule set back, and it can be a core thing, but it's also referred to in the codex. Let me give you an example. So what I mean is there are already universal special rules that exist, and one of them is that we use, one of them is objective secured. So when you write the rules in the main rule book and they come to objective secured, they can say objective, when they talk about missions, they'll say objective secured, this unit always holds it unless there's another one nearby, and clarify it there. But put objective secured on the troop options on the data sheets as well, and they'll say objective secured. So you'll have the rule sheet, have their stats, and it will say objective secured, and write on there objective secured. Or, for example, move through cover. There are many data sheets in Warhammer 40k that can ignore all terrain modifiers. So instead of writing it as inexorable advance or cavalry or all the other little rules that exist in the datasheet, write in that codex for that unit, move through cover. And then right next to it, don't just put move through cover and then we have to now pick up the other rule book to find out what it means. Write a synopsis, a snapshot of the core thing, move through cover, you ignore terrain modifiers. And then when you look in the main book, there'll be a reference sheet like 4 pages long with all of them on. Wherever you write a universal special rule, either in the main rules or in the data sheets, put it in red bold so we know that it's also in the reference sheet. So move through cover, objective secured, feel no pain of a 5-up, but you can say feel no pain 6, feel no pain 5, feel no pain 4, and in the main rules it says da 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 da. And everyone uses move through cover, feel no pain, objective secured. They all pull from the same rule set, and whenever you refer to that rule, write it in full in the rules and in the codexes, but there's also a data sheet. Here's a bunch more that you could put in the main rules and on the data sheet. So we've got move through cover, we've got feel no pain. How about relentless? You can move and fire all weapons without penalty. It's like heavy on tanks, on vehicles, or certain... There's many data sheets or many instances of units that have relentless, that can move and fire heavy weapons. Say it's on this data sheet for obliterators. Obliterators do this, and they have move through cover and relentless, so they're never slowed by such and such, and they can always fire them heavy weapons without penalty. I would change the character keyword. I would change that and make it a universal special rule, and the universal special rule would change to hidden, because the character keyword, all that does is confer on that data sheet a rule that doesn't exist on the data sheet. Why not change it into hidden? And the hidden rule would state that this unit cannot be targeted if it is within 3 inches of another unit. But you can also say this unit is a bodyguard, and they confer the hidden keyword to any HQ unit within 3 inches. You can cast a psychic power, and the psychic power could say this unit is hidden on a 7+, and that unit cannot be targeted. There could even be a stratagems if we continue with stratagems, but that's a full other. But there's many rules, either bodyguard or character, or there's many rules which mean that a certain unit cannot be targeted. Just call it hidden, and whenever it pops up, hidden, instead of the 5 or 8 different ways we have not targeting a character. You can have fleet, advance and charge. Khorne Berserkers get fleet, and next to it, which means they can fight and charge. Space War, White Scars gain fleet, or Space Wars gain fleet, which means they can advance and charge. Certain Tyranid units gain fleet, which means it can start, and it's in red and it's bold and it's stuck on the thing, and you can refer it to the main book. So I'm talking about getting rid of all the other little tiny niggly rules that all mean the same thing. Feel no pain of a 4, 5, 6. Character gains the hidden keyword. I've got another one for you. Eternal Warrior. Say there was a universal special rule in the main rulebook, and it says, you roll a hit, you roll a wound, you do your damage, and this is the amount of damage you hit, unless that unit has Eternal Warrior. Eternal Warrior does this, and then it's also in the universal special rules at the back of the sheet. And then on some of the data sheets for the Catan, or for Gaz, or for Abaddon, it says this unit has Eternal Warrior 3, or this unit has Eternal Warrior 4, or this unit has Eternal Warrior 5. And below that, written on the data sheet, it says Eternal Warrior 3 means it cannot take any more than 3 wounds a phase. Eternal Warrior 4, no more than 4 wounds a phase. Eternal Warrior 5, no more than 5 wounds a phase. Why can't you give that to other Primarchs, such as Mortarion and Angron, the new Angron model when it comes out, and Magnus? Give them Eternal Warrior 6. This unit cannot be, or 5. This unit cannot take more than 5 wounds a turn, or a phase, through any means. This can never be negated. This is fixed. You put that in the main rules. You could also put it on super heavy tanks. You can have Bane Blades and Shadow Swords and really big things like Guardians and Knights, and it can say on theirs, Eternal Warrior, this unit may only suffer 10 wounds per phase maximum. Reaver, that solves the Reaver Titan problem at Apocalypse level, and the Warlord Titan when they take 40, this unit. So you've got, because the rules are all about hitting and wounding and damaging. Hitting and wounding and damaging, and we've got ways to mitigate the hits, we've got ways to mitigate the wounds, and Eternal Warrior will keep these Eternal Warriors, these heroes, alive longer. So, and whenever you put it in the main rulebook, so people are reading the main rulebook, oh, it does this amount of damage unless they have Eternal Warrior, and this is what it means, and this is what it says here. And then when they're reading their codexes, little Timmy picks up the Necron Codex for the first time, and he opens the page and it says, oh, my Katana's got Eternal Warrior, it can 3. And it says that right next to it on the datasheet, it cannot lose any more than 3 wounds per phase. If he questions that, or his mate questions him on it, they can refer to the main rulebook, and it's in red, so it's on the datasheet in the main rulebook, and they can, on the USR page in the main rulebook, all in red. And there's only about 20 of these things. And when you play with your opponents and you hear these words like fleet, rending, feel no pain, move through cover, objective secured, hidden, and someone says to you, well, this is a tank, so it's got relentless, it can always move and fire heavy weapons. What about in close combat? What about firing guns in close combat? Why isn't there a universal special rule called point blank? So certain Tau units you might want to give point blank. Certain anything with that you might consider a tank, give it point blank, and that means it can shoot in combat. Here's another thing you could do with point blank. You could have point blank 0. You can shoot in. So say point blank rule was point blank, you can fire into close combat but not blast, and it says that on the datasheet, and it says that in the main rulebook. You can fire in close combat but not blast, and next to it is a 0, -1, -2, -3. You can have a fire into close combat with no negative modifiers except blast, or at -1, or at -2, or at -3. So you can have certain really cool tanks that fire into combat at 0 with no modifiers. Orc tanks would be fantastic, that shooting at whatever's all over their hull. They're throwing out so much amount of legs. Give them point blank 0, but you can give other tanks point blank -1, and certain Tau squads you might want to give all of the Tau point blank -1 or -2 in close combat, because they don't know how to punch things, but shooting into close combat could be a thing. Deep Strike should be a universal special rule. Not this unit can teleport, this unit can flap in over here, this unit has a webway strike over here, this unit has demonic manifestation over here. No, this unit has deep strike. Deep strike, it means you can set up this unit more than 9 inches away from an enemy unit. And you repeat that wherever deep strike pops up and it's in there. Everyone will know what deep strike is. Everyone knows what deep strike is. You'll have other universal special rules. Hardened is a good one. Reduce damage by 1. Give Dreadnoughts, Carnifexes. Give some of the big tanks, a Land Raider, a Kratos, the super heavy tanks. Maybe some of the Necron vehicles like the Monolith. If you gave Hardened, and Hardened was -1 damage. When all damage is... Here's another one. Hit and run, fall back and shoot. How many different rules have we seen for fall back and shoot? And on the datasheet, hit and run, you can fall back and shoot. Or counterattack, fall back and charge. I can see some units, for example, like White Scars or vehicles with the fly keyword having hit and run. Vehicles with the fly keyword, or you lose the vehicle keyword, by the way. Let's be clear, vehicles that can fly will have fly, which will be a universal special rule, and it'll be exactly the same universal special rule that we have now. So you don't say vehicle skimmer, Eldar grav tank, you say this is the Eldar grav tank and here are the special rules. Fly, and right, it can move over terrain features as if it wasn't there. Hit and run, it can fall back and shoot. And you can go hit and run 0, hit and run -1, hit and run -2, it can fall back and shoot. You might want to give certain units, for example, really fast units like Howling Banshees. You might want to give them hit and run and counterattack. What about Khorne Berserkers, hit and run and counterattack? And it says in their data sheets, hit and run, they can fall back and shoot. Counterattack, they can fall back and charge. Make them universal. And what you do is you build a framework of about 20 max, maybe 30 max universal special rules, and that is the recipe that you draw from when creating data sheets, and you don't extend outside that recipe. Here's another perfect universal special rule which should be on about 10% of data sheets right now, or 15 or 20. Fearless. This unit has fearless, it ignores morale tests. There's a chunk of units that should have that. How about... And then this game is about rolling to hit and rolling to wound and causing damage. So we need a perfect strike, +1 to hit. So you might have, if this unit stood still, it gains perfect strike, +1 to hit. Which is +1 to hit. If these Demonettes of Khorne, on the charge phase, this unit gains perfect strike, +1 to hit when it charges. +1 to hit on the charge, perfect strike. But you can also have brutal strike, +1 AP on the charge. You could give certain weapons brutal strike as well. If the enemy unit is within half range, this weapon gains brutal strike, +1 AP. But you could also move around with +1 to hit. You could be +1 to hit, +2 to hit. For perfect strike 1, perfect strike 2, perfect strike 3. Shrouded, -1 to hit, -2 to hit, -3 to hit. If this Wraith is in cover and more than X inches away, they are shrouded, -2 to... They gain shrouded 2, -1 to hit. If this unit of Mandrakes is 12 inches away, they get shrouded 1. If they're 18 inches away, they get shrouded -2, and if they get 8, and if they're 24 inches away, you may only hit them on 6s. Twin linked. How about twin linked? And how about twin linked is re-roll all hits? Or, see, you've got rending, right? If you've got rending as a universal special rule, and rending is re-roll wounds, you could have rending all, so re-roll all wounds. Or you could have rending 6, re-roll hit roll wound rolls of 6. Rending 5, reroll wound rolls of 5. Rending 4, reroll wound rolls of 4. You get me? And you can have twin linked 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, all. Twin linked reroll hit roll. Twin linked 4, reroll all hit rolls of a 4+. Reroll all hit rolls that did not achieve a 4+. Or twin linked all, reroll all hit rolls. Psychic powers can put out reroll hits, which might increase or decrease. So reroll hitting, rerolling wounding, shrouded, brutal strike, perfect strike, reinforced, like I mentioned earlier, for example. We had, hardened, reduced damage by 1. You could have hardened -1, hardened -2, very rarely. You could have reinforced, which is reduce AP by 1 or reduce AP by 2. You can, like, for example, if a unit is within 2 inches of a terrain feature or inside a terrain feature, they gain reinforced 1, which means they reduce all incoming AP by 1. First strike, which is fight first. If you charge in, you get to fight first. If the opposing player also has fight first strike, then the active player goes first. So if you have first strike and then they have a first strike, then you go first. But if you first strike here, you hit that, and if he's got first strike over there, hits that, and then all of. But the most important thing ever, don't have a fight last, because then it just complicates things. Fight first is fight first, and the active player goes first. And another reason why you shouldn't have a fight last is because you'll notice, I think we're up to about 15 or so core rules. If you have a fights last, it feels bad. All of these rules, nearly all of these rules benefit you. Moving through cover, feel no pain, relentless, fleet, advance and charge, hardened, I reduce damage by 1 is a feels bad. And shrouded, I'm -1 to hit or -2 to hit is a feels bad. Anything that affects your opponent in a negative way are feel bad moments and need to be factored out of the game as much as possible. But I couldn't avoid them in these lists that I came up with. You're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 feels bads. And that I'm defining a feel bad rule as something that happens to your opponent, or something your opponent does that affects your stat lines and the things you thought you could do. That makes you feel, oh. So you've got to minimize that and have as many universal rules within the framework of whatever rule system that you have to benefit you, rather than affect your opponent. But at least if they're drawing all the if they're drawing all the rules from the same rule pool, then everyone knows what it is. Like, I could be shooting my opponent over there and he says, did you know that this unit is shrouded -2 right now? And I'm like, oh, okay. They'll tell you. Or before they charge in or move in, they'll say, I'll move up, I'm gonna shoot you, and you're telling your opponent what's happening. At least you know what shrouded -2 means, rather than saying, oh, if you shoot this unit, I have the armor of Sanguinius. Sanguinius is second feather. Oh, what does the armor of Sanguinius second feather does? Well, it's like miasma of pestilence. It's -1 to hit. Oh, thanks, right. Because you're playing Death Guard. But if they turned around and said, oh, I've got shrouded -1 here, you'd be like, oh, cool. I get that with miasma. And they're like, yeah, cool. And it's because it's drawing from the same thing. So you need a first strike, but not a fight last. You need tanks, for example, lose vehicle. Tanks should be, most vehicles should be reinforced, which is reduce AP by 1, or reduce AP by 2, or reduce AP by 3. A Spartan and a Land Raider should have reinforced -2. And Titans should have reinforced -3. And you might give something like, reinforced and they have relentless, so they can move and fire their heavy weapons without penalty. You wouldn't then make a subset of stuff. This is where 40k has gone wrong in the past, and this is what the Horus Heresy rule set does, which is annoying. They'll have a subset of universal special rules or special rules like tank, and you'll look under that and it will say, this special rule confers this special rule and this special rule. And that's really annoying. I wouldn't have any subsets. I wouldn't have tank. I wouldn't have vehicle. I wouldn't have character. I'd just use hidden, and they would be under the lookout sir rules, essentially. But you change lookout sir to hidden. You change character to hidden. This is what happens when a unit is hidden, either through a psychic test or through bodyguard or something. And it's a feel bads one as well. Remember, it's something that happens to your opponent, so it needs to be as clear and cut as possible. Shrouded, perfect strike, fearless. We use feel no pain. We use deep strike, even though these are not in the main core rules: counterattack, fly, point blank. You can shoot into close combat. I really like the idea of the Eternal Warrior 3, 4, 5. And then for the juice, you're like thinking, well, if they're all drawing from a pool of, say, 20 universal special rules, and we all hear them again and again and again, and 6 months in, the people who play the edition a lot more will know all the universal special rules, and there can't really be more than 20 of them. But you don't really need more than 20 of them if you go Shrouded 1, 2, 3, if you go Twin Linked 1, 2, 3, 4, if you go Feel No Pain on a 6-up, Feel No Pain on a 5-up, Feel No Pain on a 4-up, if you go Perfect Strike +1 to hit or Perfect Strike +2 to hit, if you use the same rules but move the needle on that core rule, everyone will know what it is. So you won't need something like reroll hit rolls of 1 for one rule. This confers and that reroll hit rolls of 1, and this confers reroll all hit rolls. You don't need 2 rules. You can make it twin linked, and twin linked is reroll hit rolls of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 all. So break it all down that way. The data sheets would need to change as well. So a couple of things would need to happen here as well. The data sheets would need to change. Is everyone with me so far? Let's talk about the idea of a pool of universal special rules that is repeated in the codex and repeated in the main rule system, and you draw from that and you don't add to it, you don't subtract to it. But if they're flexible core rules and everyone knows what they sound like, then you can interact with the core rule system, the scaffolding rule system that's built on, be it Horus Heresy, this, that, and the other, or Warhammer 40k, and in this case Warhammer 40k, and it works. That's a core system, subsystem inside the... You got the... That's a core subsystem reacting with the core system, interacting with the foundation system. So you've got a computer program running on the base level, which is these are the rules. You move, you shoot, you fight, charges go first. The core rules can be very 8th, very 9th edition. Just trim it down, make it sharper. This is the core rule set. Move, advance, charge, magic phase, morale phase. You only need to adjust a couple of things in the 8th edition, 9th edition core rule set. Terrain needs to be changed, and terrain could be, you get rid of light cover, get rid of obscuring terrain, get rid of heavy cover. What you can do is have, here's the terrain. If you, terrain which are barricades and this, that, and the other, get you reinforced, -1 AP. Terrain which is hills or bushes of this gets you shrouded, which is -1 to hit. And you can have some hardpoint covers which are both cover and concealment, because cover stops rounds, concealment hides rounds. And you can have cover and cover and concealment would be reinforced and shrouded, or hardened and shrouded, or in the real cases of real bunkers, this has hardened, reinforced, and shrouded. So minuses to hit, minuses to AP, and reduces damage by 1, and tie those into the map itself as well as the units itself. So with you so far, good. Thank you, Brett Pearsons. You're with me so far. So on top of this core rule, Killer Kriegsman, you should have round 2 with Mordian Glory. I should have round 2 with Mordian Glory. There's lots of people I should have round 2s with. He's one of the many, many, many people on the list. Yes. Thank you for your donation. So you've got a universal core rule system. The other thing you do is the data sheets themselves need to change. So there's 2 things that you need to do with the data sheets straight away in my arms. And by data sheets, I mean the stat lines, the strengths, the weapon skill, ballistic skill, everything. The way you use them needs to change. And Games Workshop have already done one of the ways. And that way is get rid of some of the rules that were in the data sheets and dump them in the stats line. And we've seen this with the new Demon Codex. So Disgustingly Resilient is gone. The rules where Khorne charged in and get +1 strength on the charge, that's gone. Slaaneshi demons fighting first or moving twice, all of that's gone. You could put a moving twice, by the way, in the universal special rules. I'll call it double time or call it move twice. If this unit doesn't shoot or doesn't charge, it may move twice. tanks can choose not, or vehicles can choose not to shoot and not to charge, but they may move twice. And you put it in the rules, and it's called move twice. Anyway, what they did in the Chaos Demon Codex is they got rid of all those little fluffy rules, and they've rolled them straight into the stat line, which is brilliant. Corn demons at strength 8, toughness 8 with 8 attacks. Yes, please. That is the kind of stat line I want to see, and it doesn't need any explanation, and it's just there. Demonettes of Slanesh, just moving 10. Plague bearers. It doesn't say their toughness this with a and they've got disgusting resilient, which again is a feel bad. You cause this number of wounds. I fail my saves. Oh no, I've got a reroll. Well, which isn't. You could leave feel no pain in there. You could, but anyway, what they haven't. I'm losing track. Stay on target. They've rolled as many basic rules into the stat line, so even plague bearers are toughness 5 with 2 wounds now. They're just tougher. Bloodletters are just stronger. They're strength 5. Most of the Zinch stuff is a 3-up invulnerable save to shooting and is really, really hard to kill, but you can punch it and rip it apart very easily. So they've rolled a lot of the core abilities into the stat line, and I wish they did it with all the other factions. Everyone with their Terminators has some rule which means Terminators can hit on 2s. Just give Terminators hitting on 2s. Give your elite stuff, your Stern Guard, your Terminators, your Death Shroud Terminators, your Sanguinary Guard, your all of that lot. They just hit on 2s. Here's another thing that's really annoying. The invulnerable save should be in the main stat line. So you've got your hit, the wounded, your save, and your invulnerable save. And so in the Space Marine stat sheet, it will say Iron Halo, see above. Iron Halo confers an invulnerable save. And you'll notice, oh yeah, he's got a 4+ save. Most units will have a dash next to the invulnerable save, but as zero invulnerable save, but many units will have an invulnerable save. Blade Guard veterans, Terminator veterans, demons, all of the invulnerable saves could just be rolled into the main. Oh yeah, this unit has an invulnerable save of this. This unit has an invulnerable save of that. You don't have to look on any further source. And while we're talking about invulnerable saves should never be negated ever by any power or any blade ever. Invulnerable saves should be, when games designers talk of invulnerable saves, they should feel bulletproof, invulnerable, inviolate. It should be as much as a pillar of the game, one of the core foundations of the game. It should be the golden throne, the emperor on the golden throne to the worshippers who create the rules. Invulnerable saves are invulnerable saves and cannot be negated in any way except for mortal wounds. So we'll come back to how I just counteracted myself. What I mean is, in the Demon Codex, you can't turn off their saves. Invulnerable, so Iron Halos, the Catan shouldn't be able to chop through an invulnerable save. Nothing should be able to get through an invulnerable save. An invulnerable save is an invulnerable save, a 3-up, a 4-up, a 5-up, a 6-up, whatever it might be. Except for mortal wounds. And what you do is you state very clearly that feel no pain negates all wounds, including mortal wounds. So there isn't a feel no pain for mortal wounds. Like Black Templars have a 5-up feel no pain to mortal wounds. Grey Knights have a 5-up feel no pain to mortal wounds. Some things have a 5-up feel no pains to non-mortal wounds. What there needs to be is just a lot more feel no pains to just wounds in general. So instead of Black Templars and Grey Knights getting a 5+ feel no pain to mortal wounds, just give them a 6-up feel no pain to all wounds. Because Black Templars, because Grey Knights, they can push on with wounds that would have killed another man, such as when Uriel Ventress fought that Grey Knight captain on his way back from Medengrad in the Graham McNeil books, which are highly recommended. Read the Uriel Ventress trilogy. Well, he's written 5 of them now. They're really good. So the only thing that bypasses invulnerable saves is mortal wounds, and the only way to save against mortal wounds and wounds in general would be feel no pains. 4, 5, 6. Increase. If you could increase the amount of invulnerable saves in the game, you could also increase the amount of mortal wounds there are on standard weapons in the game and increase the feel no pain in the game. So here's a good example for you of what I'm talking about. the stupid amount of mortal wounds that really big, powerful, crazy attacks put out when they put out 9 mortal wounds, that needs to tone all the way down. One of the ways to tone the crazy amount of mortal wounds that some things can put out, or the crazy amount of, hey, here's a Catan and it did 18 wounds to you, ignoring all invulnerable saves. A way to counter that is to look at all of the weapons and give some of the bigger weapons just mortal wounds tagged into their stat line. So las cannons do d6 plus 3 wounds and a mortal wound. This is a master crafted weapon. At the end of the fight phase, it does a mortal wound. Here's a Demolisher tank shell. It does X amount of damage, say 4 plus d6 damage and 2 mortal wounds. Here is a Vanquisher tank cannon. It does 6 wounds. It does 3d3 mortal wounds and 6 mortal wounds. Here's Abaddon's Claws. Abaddon does all his, and at the end of the fight phase, Abaddon does 3 mortal wounds. You can up the amount of weapons that have a few mortal wound output here or there, but you can give Blood Angels a 6 up, feel no pain. You can give Iron Hands a 6 up, feel no pain. And the amount of feel no pain that's available just goes up a little bit from some of the units that you would expect to have some feel no pain. And then there are some big guns and some big attacks, 2 or 3 in each codex, this is what I'm talking about, just 2 or 3 in each codex, that could have mortal wounds tagged into what they do, 1 or 2 or 3 at the end of the shot. Or some spells that could have 1 or 2 or 3 mortal wounds at the end of it. Maybe 3, 4 or 5 units in each codex that have this ability. And then you could put different guns here, there. And then some units in each codex as well. Orcs, Leagues of Votan, demons that just have a feel no pain rolled in there as well. Because the game's all about hitting and wounding. Hitting and wounding. Hitting and wounding. Can you make your saves? The game can also be about hitting and wounding with a few more mortal wounds at a lower level. And can you make your saves against that? And brush out. So if you increase the amount of mortal wounds output across each codex by 10 to 20%, 2s and 3s, you can increase the amount of mortal wound saving, the amount of feel no pain saving in every single codex by 10-20%. So you've got ways to hit, ways to wound, and ways to hit and ways to wound. On top of that, a secondary system, boom, boom, picking them up, rolling it all at the end. Kurt L, thank you for your donation. Have them include book page number with a keyword. Exactly. I got another idea. Thank you for reminding me. This would be completely app friendly. You'd go on the datasheet, and the datasheet would say, this is what it does, this is what the unit does, and this unit is a Necron Doom Scythe. And the Tesla cannon has 10 shots, strength 7, AP-1 damage. The Doom Scythe itself does 2d3 damage and 2d3 mortal wounds. That's probably not enough. The Doom Scythe itself, yeah, you could make it 3 shots, and each shot does 3 damage and d3 mortal wounds. So you've got to roll to hit. Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. Really itchy nose. So you roll 3 dice to hit, and then you roll that to wound, and then the wound does 3 damage, 3 damage, 3 damage, and d3 mortal wounds, d3 mortal wounds, d3 mortal wounds, potentially. And just put it on the Doom Scythe with this massive Doom Ray that it shoots down. And again, if you've got 10-20% of 6 up feel no pains, 5 up feel no pains, 4 up feel no pains in your codex, then you can only say, and get rid of the, yeah, so that's, and WhatsApp friendly, sorry, what was I said, in app friendly. So look at the Doom Scythe, and if they want to know, and it will say on the thing, this is a, and you can, mortal wounds will ignore all the blah, blah, blah. Put it on the thing. And you can reference the page number in the written rule set, as you said, or you can click on the app to the USB. And on the app, whenever all the USPs come up, sorry, Universal Special Rules come up on the apps, on the datasheet, there's a big red thing. So you know it's a Universal Special Rule. So you can click on the Universal Special Rule, and it has the big breakdown of what that Universal Special Rule is at the back on the app. So if you wanted to click on what is Fleet Universal Special Rule, you click on that on the app, and on the datasheet reference at the back, and it will say Fleet means you can advance and charge. And it says, because you clicked on the main page, you can advance and charge. This will be affected by any terrain modifiers when you advance and when you charge. Here are some exceptions. Here are some examples. And you could break it down so it makes it airtight. But the rule is you can advance and charge. And then what does that mean? Click. And then on that datasheet, when you've read and you've talked to little Timmy, it says I can advance and charge here, but I am slowed by terrain, so it is -2. So here we go, we'll roll that. And then it says on the app, back. Do you want to go back to the datasheet, or it says USRs? And then you could click on the button and it will show you the page with all the USRs on, all 20 USRs. So you're just clicking from the codex to the USRs page. It says hidden and twin linked. So I'm going to click on that one, but it says what it is on the app, and the bigger example is deeper in there with links to the other USRs. So a group of special rules, the sub level on which the core rules are built around, write into, just as they're doing, as many of the rules into the core data sheets, including invulnerable saves. Make invulnerable saves inviolate. Nothing gets past an invulnerable save except for mortal wounds. If you want to make something really killy, like the Nightbringer, remember the Nightbringer, Catan's overhand swing ignores all invulnerable saves, then say the Nightbringer Scythe. Write it in the thing. The Nightbringer Scythe, strength 12, AP -4, 4 mortal wounds. And that's just what it does. It hits you, it wounds you, and they're 4 mortal wounds. And the only people who'll be able to survive that are people with lots of feel no pain, which they're the only ones that should, or the only ones that would survive a hit from a Nightbringer is someone like a Nightbringer with the Eternal Warrior special rule. Eternal Warrior 3, 4, or 5. You can only lose 3 wounds a phase, 4 wounds a phase, 5 wounds a phase. So you can make weapons extremely powerful from, here's a Thermal Lance Titan Knight super heavy tank melter cannon, and this has got 3 shots at strength 20, and each hit 3 shots, strength 20, AP minus a bajillion, and each shot does 10 mortal wounds. You could turn weapons like that and sell it from Forge World, and it'll put down 40 mortal wounds on whatever it hits, and mortal wounds spill over, so it just creams through an entire unit of Terminators. But stood there in the flames afterwards, looking at you mean and angry, is Abaddon, thinking you just killed my Terminators around him, but you've only taken 4 mortal wounds off of him, and he charges straight at you. And the thing that might shot him has Eternal Warrior as well, or hit and run. It can fall back and shoot. So, more mortal wounds, more feel no pain, to a limit. An invuln is an invuln, and the invuln stat line is rolled into the main datasheet, and on the main datasheet stat line you tweak with them more. And I think the core rules don't need to change very much from what they are. The datasheet rules would need to, the special rules would all need to refer to universal special rules and make a core of 20, 30 of them. 20, I think you could do it with 20. And that could apply to terrain, to everything. It could apply to psychic tests. This power, if you get it off, gives out shrouded. This power, if you give it off, gives out hidden. It can't be hit. This power, if you get it off, gives out perfect strike, +1 to hit, +2 to hit. This power, if you get it off, gives out twin linked. And each power for each different codex would say this unit stood still. So it gets this, that, and the other. Balrog Finn, 40k back to 1 wound troops, 3 to 4 wound HQs when 5++ was rare. No, I wouldn't say 1 wound troops. Horus Heresy looks like, Horus Heresy has that. Has 1 wound troops, 3 to 4 wound HQs. Some of the Terminators has 2 wounds now. You can't write a rule which restricts everything to 1 wound. Use the stat line. So here's a good example. most of the little troops, the Drukhari and the Tau and the Guard can have 1 wound. Space Marines having 2-3 wounds is no problem at all. Chaos Space Marines having 2-3 wounds is no problem at all. Orcs and bigger Tyranid Buds having 3-4 wounds, and some of their monsters is absolutely fine. Venoms having only 6 wounds is fine. Vehicle degrading needs to be a thing, for example. So on larger vehicles, the idea in 8th edition, 7th edition, you would chip away and make vehicles immobilized, or weapons wouldn't fire, things like that. You can have written straight in the datasheet, when this monster or vehicle drops below X number of wounds, they lose Perfect Strike, or they lose Relentless, or their weapons gain. You just write it straight into the datasheet, and you would expand the amount of wounds stuff has, but up the damage through mortal wounds, up the feel no pain. The game is all about roll and hit, roll and a wound, and mitigating against that hit and the wound. And setting 0 or 1 wound on stuff isn't the way to go. But having a pool of rules which everything draws from, as well as the core rules above that which everything draws on. So that's one of the things you can do. Psychic powers can be written around it. I would also get rid of stratagems. Yes, I would get rid of stratagems completely, and command points. And I would replace them with some core things. So in the main rule, so I would say that you have 5 turns, and in every turn you can nominate a thing for your army to do. And you tell your opponent, in this turn my army is doing this. And your opponent would tell you, in my turn my army is doing this. And it lasts until the end of your opponent's turn, until you get to say those words again. And in the main rulebook there might be 5 things, and you can pick one of them once. So you've got 5 things to cycle through. In your codex, there might be 2 more. You've still got 5 things to cycle through, but there's a couple more in your codex, maybe 3 in your codex. The 5 things that you can cycle through in the main game is, you can tell your opponent, in this turn, I'm gonna re-roll hit rolls of 1. So it's not spending a CP to re-roll a hit roll of 1 on a unit. You're using one of your reactions to re-roll all hit rolls of 1 this turn. Here's another one you might want to do. This turn, my army gets to advance and charge. This turn, my army counts as though it's shrouded. This turn, so I would put, we've got reroll hit rolls of 1. We need a core. This turn, my army is fearless. This turn, my army will not fail any morales it's called upon to make. We've got that one. There's 2 core rules there. And I'd have 5 of them. And then I have a couple in your codex. So for example, everyone knows the 5 core things that they could turn on their army every turn. And what you would do is say, oh, my 2 extra things. Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, you're playing Harlequins? Yeah. What are the 2 extra things that you can do in a turn? Well, in one turn, my entire army can, when it can advance and charge, well, all advances and charges anyway. We'll get onto the core army rules, but for one turn, my whole Harlequin army has +1 to hit for the entire turn. It's like, oh wow! And the second thing that my whole army could do is once in the game, my whole army can move twice. Whether it's falling back, whether it's advancing, whether it's the whole army is just super fast. You can have rules like that. So there is the 5 in the core rulebook. There's a couple of extra things that only your army does, and you'd have to slot them in a turn. And I would have, in the main rulebook, I'd have reroll hit rolls of 1. Fearless, my army becomes fearless for a turn. You need something to defend against first turn advantage. So in the main cool rulebook, you can have go to ground, which is in this turn, my whole army gains shrouded +1, which is my whole army gets +1 to their cover saves. There could be a thing, for example, that's in the core rulebook. I'm going second, so my whole army shrouded. Great. There could be a thing in your codex for, say, Night Lords, and it says when you use well, you could have one of the main rule books, Shrouded. When my army goes to ground, it all goes. And then there could be one in the Night Lord's book, which is once per turn, your whole army gets shrouded +3. And it's like, oh, cool, that's a Night Lord's thing. And all the universe, on all the army-wide special rules, each army should only do one thing: Space Wolves, Advance, and Charge. High Fleet Kraken gets this. Everyone has one rule for their army, and a couple of core reactions their army can do. And then all these other things split. And it makes it simpler, it makes it easier, it makes it more accessible, it makes it less complex. And it really raises the skill cap for people who learn all the different rules, the 20 of them, plus how different armies interact, plus the upscaling of Shrouded or Rending or Twin Linked, rerolling the hit or rerolling the wound, and how to scale them correctly, how those special rules interact with the terrain around it. And the stratagems are gone, so there isn't gotcha moments. You're telling people at the start of the turn. How many times have we, and you played, and I played, we played, when you're about to shoot a unit and they say, oh no, you can't overwatch, I've played this. Or you're about to charge a unit and they turn around to you, oh, you have to reroll charges, or -6 to your charges, or custodians, oh, you suddenly can't reroll hits and reroll wounds against it. In that turn, after you've set up to done it, do it. You've moved round to shoot and suddenly you can't do the thing that you moved round to shoot for. You've pulled yourself out of position to do the thing that you wanted to do, and all of a sudden you can't do the thing that you wanted to do, and you're sat in the middle of the thing and you're going to get lit up and countercharged, and it's absolutely horrible. How many times has that happened to us? Get rid of the stratagems and it gets rid of that. Instead, at the start of your turn, you say, my army does this. My army this turn, okay, so I've got Iron Warriors, and I've got two things that the Iron Warriors can do. Once per battle in my turn, I can make all your charges -3. And once per battle in my turn, all my shots are twin linked 3+. So I reroll hits on a 3+. But yeah, once per battle, all your army is -3 to charge me. And then at the start of turn 3, when I see you lining up and you know I can do this, I'll say, right, okay, in turn 3, I'm letting you know I'm going to enact my stratagem, which is -3 to all your charges this turn. And they go, okay, I know. And what I'm going to do instead to you is I told you at the start, I get reroll charges once because I'm really quick Tyrannid Kraken list. So this turn, all my stuff has got reroll charges. You go, great, no gotchas, you know it's coming. And the movement and the hits and the saves are all in the data sheets. How far they can move, how tough they are. And there's a difference between... you can make stuff tougher. They made the Land Raider toughness 9 in the Chaos Space Marine book and the Predators toughness 8 in the Chaos Space Marine book. There's no reason why anything that looks tanky now can go up 1 or 2 toughness to toughness 8, 9 or 10 should be used more. And yeah. Once you've got all that down, once you've got a system like that relatively in place, everyone pulling from the same pot, the same recipes, I'm saying you won't need to make up rules to counter any rules discrepancies later on. So for example, Armor of Contempt is a rule that has been made up to counter rules discrepancies that came later in the edition. There are many examples of changes. The balanced data slate itself is full of changes to indirect fire weapons that affect, and other rules, many other rules that affect the core rules in the game that are not recorded on the datasheet. And that's what the balanced data slate is all about. And if you go to warhammercommunity.com or the Games Workshop page and you type in balanced data slate, then there's a free PDF for you to download, and it's 3 pages long now, and it's all the amendments to the rules that are either core rules or in your datasheet. That should go, because everyone's drawing from the same rules, so there's no exceptions to metaphor. So what you can do to balance stuff, because Codex creep is inevitable, is increase and decrease points. My nose is so itchy. I may have scratched it earlier. I probably scratched it earlier. So yeah, you don't need to increase. Okay, so now all of a sudden we're going to say that Harlequins, you can reroll hits and wounds or whatever it is against Harlequins so long as you're within 12 inches or 18 inches, whatever rule they fact. You won't need to put a rule in to counter a rule because there's no new rules. They're drawn from the same pot. What you can do is put points up or down, and that's what the point system is for, not rules. I don't care if you come at me with a unit that moves 20 inches, that has 20 shots and 20 attacks at strength 20, damage 20. You can bring that on, so long as it's 1,500 points or more. You bring along a unit. There's this model. It moves 10. It has 10 attacks. They're -3, 3 damage. Fine. You can bring that unit along. Just don't make it any bigger than toughness 9. Sorry, it's 9 wounds at toughness 7 with a 2-up save. Don't make it anything. You point it accordingly. And where there is imbalance in units, you can balance those imbalances with points changes, not with rules changes. So there's no balance data slates. You can bring along facts to answer the most frequently asked questions and make those facts, tie them in to every rerun of the rules that is done. So at the back of every rule set, at the back of everything, at the back of every chapter approved, assuming that we continue with the chapter approved thing, which is rules coming out and coming out and coming out, put the FAQ in the back, frequently asked questions, and publish it and publish it and publish it, because the FAQ should also be very small, or will be not very small, but it'll definitely be smaller than it is now, because you can put real world examples in there. So Gamer Stuff, thank you for your donation. Top D for the night. Poggers, hey SEO, thanks for all the great matches. Keep up the great work. No, thank you. Thank you so much for helping contribute to the creation and the expansion and the evolution of my gaming career. It's a career now. You're a legend. I appreciate you. We looks like we get attacked by Slanishy demons and you were on it. Thank you, chat. I appreciate you. So each faction has one rule tied to their faction. Iron Hands get a 5-up feel no pain flat. Eldar, don't give them in their special army rule. Don't say Eldar have fleet. No. Put in that on all their data sheets. This unit has fleet, can advance and charge. Or don't even give them fleet in all their data sheets. Or battle focus, whatever that is. Just give them movement 8, 9. Standard Eldar. Make them quick. Make their wave serpents movement 18. They're nearly there anyway. But why are... Space Marine, the video game, actually has got it right. The online multiplayer that Valrak plays all the time, there's Howling Banshees in that, and the Space Marines are moving, say, 5 inches, but the Howling Banshees are just moving 10, 12 inches. Wrap that into their datasheet. And in Craftwell Beltan's data, their thing could be... their special rule could be their units cannot be wounded on a 1-2. White Scars could be... Actually, you could make it... Yeah, White Scars could be... They all have hit and run. They can all fall back and shoot all the time. And that's just it. But you'd put it in every single datasheet as well. Yeah. So core rules for the army. Simple. A couple of reactions for the army. 2, I'm saying. Some might argue 3 core reactions for the army. There's 5 core reactions in the main rulebook, but everyone knows what they are. And you can do them too. And they're beef. They're like beefed up stratagems. The data stat lines in the data sheets accurately reflect what the unit can do. You don't need to make rules to explain that this piece of armor or this piece of equipment does that. And then a core chunk of rules which sits on top of the core rules. That's what I would do. That's how the Warhammer 40k rules should be written. With Invulnerable Saves being inviolate and... Yeah. What do you think? What have I missed? Is this a bad idea? I'm at an hour and 20, so let's do a Q&A for a good 10 minutes unless I go off on another angle to the left. I do hope that people in Games Workshop, I do see the change at the Chaos Demons. I see what they've done with the rules there and wrapping them into the stat line and think that's brilliant. And there is absolutely no reason why they can't turn that up to 11. and ditch as many rules as possible because they're in the stat line themselves. You don't need a rule that says Iron Halo this grants a 4+ invulnerable save. You just need it in the stat line. Captains are 4+ invulnerable saves. Lieutenants have 5+ invulnerable saves. Hell, you can give Land Raiders and Rhinos and Predators and Vindicators 6+ invulnerable saves. Just put it in the stat line. 1 in 6 shots, it just pings off. Blade Guard, 4+ invulnerable saves. Tyranids, give big bug Tyranids just flat 5+ invulnerable saves. Put it in their stat line. Just put it in there. Eldar vehicles moving really quickly. Wave Serpents, Vipers, Jet Bikes just being able to move 18. And because they're so quick, give them a 6+ or a 5+ invulnerable save. But then up the mortal wounds on guns. So when a missile launcher or a las cannon or a venom cannon or a rail gun hits you, it does 1 or 2 mortal wounds on top of the normal damage that it does. And then Eternal Warrior, make that a thing so units can't lose more than 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 wounds. Make that a mechanic to help balance against the mechanic my nose is so itchy. No, I haven't been doing anything really bad. For the adults in the room. It's, I think I've had a bit... My wife's downstairs. I just had some food. She said, don't forget to show the mug that she designed and try not to go off on tangents too often. And I think I might actually be becoming a bit sniffly with something from the weekend because I met so many people. I hope not, because Tiger's coming on Wednesday. So what do we think? Yeah, I threw it open to everyone. Where are we? I think you should publish this yourself if GW doesn't know. It's just my idea. And I will play the 40k rule set. I've played the 40k rule set and will continue to play the 40k rule set. I like the 40k. Whatever I'm given, I like playing this game. However it is. Now, I have criticisms and I have things that are positive that they do and things that are negative that they do. I mean, that's the same with everything, right? Playing other games or invested in other hobbies you don't stop going to roller coasters because to theme parks because you don't like that particular ride over there, and you don't really like the haunted house very much, but you go along and still go on the roller coasters and this, that, and the other, and eat loads of ice cream and puke up on the swans. You still do all that sort of stuff because you like going to theme parks. I like going to theme parks. I like playing 40k, and I'll get what I'm given. And yeah, it's I can moan about the next person. Where are we? Can we expect your Mechanicum to appear on a bat rep in the Horus Heresy game in the near future? I wouldn't say near future, but definitely as soon as I'm able to present one to you, I'll present one to you. Punctuation important, kids. If all the rules are simplified, how would GW sell us 1 million books every year? That's a good question. Here how they'll sell it. They'll have a core rules system, and they can release codexes for every faction, and then they can release sub-faction codexes as well. But what they should do is put 6 or 8 sub-factions inside one codex. The Chaos Space Marine book is a good example of this. The Chaos Space Marine book essentially has 9 Chaos Space Marine codexes in it. The Demon Codex is a good example of this. The Demon Codex essentially has 4 and a bit Demon Codexes in it. It's even split up that way with Chaos Undivided at the back. So that's a very good example of this. So you can have a Space Marine book, and then you could have Space Marine sub-factions, and in it could be White Scars, Grave Guard, this, that, and the other. But again, if you slim it all the way down, you probably won't need to split this across sub-factions. So can that idea. Here's another idea that they can sell loads and loads of books in. The Crusade system. I want a Crusade system which is, here's the fall of Cadia. Here's the devastation of Baal. Here's the first Tyrannic War. Here's the Pariah Nexus. Here is the Siege of Terror. Here is the War of the Great Beast. The War of the Great Beast could have a couple of crusade books which don't have any rules in it for your army. All your rules for your army are in your army book. What the crusade rules have for the Great Beast are, here's the factions that can play this one, this one, this one, this one. Here are the campaigns, and here are the special rules for those campaigns. And here's some gorgeous history, and here are some absolutely gorgeous pictures. And there are 100 crusade books. Imagine, people, if there were 200 crusade books out there, and it was a bit like the Black Library. And just as I'm talking to you saying, have you read Gaunt's Ghosts? Have you read the Uriel Ventrius trilogy? Have you read the Night Lords trilogy from ADB? Have you read the Horus Heresy? And people talk about these books that they've all read and all interacted with and are recommending them. And there could be 200 crusade books that people talk about. Have you done this Nexus thing over here? Did you do the Devastation of Baal? You must do the Devastation of Baal. There's 3 books. There's like First Contact, then you have to... And people will talk about online which were the best crusade series they did. Oh, the rules in that one for the campaigns are awesome. Or the mission deployments in there. Or people would collect them. People like Luton and all the lore masters would collect them because the lore around the Devastation of Baal would be like the old Imperial Armor books with fantastic pictures done professionally with all the smoke blowing across them. You would want to hold them with the painting guide in it, with the guide on what the different factions looked like, what this particular... Here's a new chapter that turned up in the Devastation of Baal, and they fought on the fringes, and they were the Mighty Ducks, and this is chapter Space Marine Mighty Ducks, and you slam it all in there in all the crusade books. And you and me will be having this conversation, which is, and someone will ask a question, oh, what's the best crusade series I'm playing? I say, oh yeah, you have to hit the First Tyrannic War. First Tyrannic War, 2 parts, really good. The campaigns are good. The different reactions that certain armies can do are good. Oh, by the way, you can only do the First Tyrannic War if you are Eldar, Space Marines, or Tyranids. If you want a really good one, oh, you should do the Octavius sector with the Orcs and the Tyranids and the Krieger there now, and the this and that. And we'd talk about it, and we'd all play it. And I would run campaigns, Octavius sector, Octavius Crusade, Eldari. And they can fight against everyone, but these are the bonuses that you have, or the initial reactions that you have, or the war zones that the Eldari fought in the Octavius system. And I would play the crap out of that and make the machine. Evening Winters, thank you very much for your donation. Lee Harvey, also thank you for your donation. You're an absolute legend. Winters, have you tried Grimdark Future, The Rules of Fun? I've heard of Grimdark Future. I'm aware of Grimdark Future. See, this is the point. Grimdark Future and one-page rules now exist because the 40k rules are so hard to penetrate. Impenetrable. The 40k rules and 30k rules are fairly impenetrable for people who are new or off the street. You've got to buy the rule book, you've got to buy the codex, and then there's all these interactions, and then there's stratagems, and then there's relics, and then there's warlord traits. There could only be 2 warlord traits if you wanted, and 0 relics, or maybe each codex has 3 warlord traits and 3 relics, but make them more powerful warlord traits that are only in effect when your warlord is around, and have 3 relics and make them more powerful relics. And those, yeah. And that's it. So when you sit down, and don't have rules where you can bring extra warlord traits and extra relics. There's a guy that has the warlord trait, and there's a guy that has the relic or the machine, and that's it. But 40k rules and one-page rules exist because it's so impenetrable right now. It will not be impenetrable forever. It comes and goes. It waxes and wanes. Codexes, Games Workshop have shown with Chaos Demons and Chaos Space Marines that they've heard our prayers and that they're adjusting. And that's part of the reason why this video is here, is to help nudge that conversation along into how the Warhammer 40k rules should be written from the point of view of a content creator who has a little bit of experience with the game, who would like to shout at anyone who might be listening. And I also thought it'd be interesting to have a conversation with you guys. But yeah, I'm not interested in playing another rule system that is not this rule system, because I will play the rule system that I'm given, because I love 40k. I love the lore. I love collecting. I love painting. I love meeting people from my community and from other people's communities. I like collaborating, and I like experimenting within the rule system that we have to pull out different lists and different ways of playing. I have different lists from different eras, and I've got lists and ideas for eras now, and I had ideas in previous eras of how the game could be improved, and I've got ideas now. So there have been no... Anyway, we need to total blah blah. This has been most focused. Has it really? Thank you, Ozzy. Is this my most focused live stream ever? You can love the lore and the models and hate the rules. That's allowed. Yeah. And you can love the lore and the models and honestly love most of the rules. It's just some of the rules that most of us find very annoying, because the core rules themselves. Look, if you play a game of Warhammer 40k, 1,000 points each with your friend, and you both trust each other, and you both play it in the spirit of the game, which is fun, to have fun. That's why we play TIG. That's why we play Ring Around the Roses. That's why we play Fortnite, Magic the Gathering, whatever. We should be playing games to have fun. And if you're playing it to have fun with a friend who wants you to have as much fun as possible and you want them to have as much fun as possible, then exploding vehicles and exploding plasma guns in your face and things, bizarre things happening here or there is fun. And them trying to outplay you and you trying to outplay them, so you're not just throwing a ball at an empty wall, they're throwing the ball back at you and you're trying to catch, is fun. The challenge of it, and cheering for the other guys. So when your friend wins and wins convincingly and smashes you, you're like, wow, that was really impressive. Way to go, you. I completely need to change my list. Or what do you think I would have done next time? And if you're the person who smashes, be humble and don't be humble. If you won a trophy once at a Legends event in 2022, 2021, try not to mention it very much. Be humble. If you have your own merch to flog, try not to be too over the top about it. I barely mention the tournament. That's the way to play the game. That's the way to encourage people to play, to have as much fun as possible. And Lee, thank you so much for your donation. What you describe as how Grimdark is written, it has the engagement, it lacks the excessive mental load. I played 40k since 2004. Okay, old school, man. You played 40k for a long time. Yeah, I mean, people diverge away from the rules all the time. People did back in Rogue Trader days. No one ever really played 40k. Everyone played versions of. People come up with house rules all the time about how the game should be played to make it more narrative, or to make it more competitive. The ITC rule set in 7th edition and 8th edition was essentially a rule set to make the game more competitive. It's a set of house rules. People make up house rules all the time. Grimdark rule set, one-page rules, is another set of house rules, another way you can play the game. I've made up house rules on how to play Apocalypse games, and it was in a video. And if you email team@deploymentzone.tv and write Apocalypse in the subject title, then the bot should send you the Apocalypse rules that I came up with for the Apocalypse game that we did. And if you write anything else in the email, the bot will cry and not know what it's doing, because you have to say the correct words to the machine spirit. It is team@deploymentzone.tv, Apocalypse. Those are the magic words which will activate the machine spirit to send you that PDF. I make house rules. So yeah, we make house rules and house missions, and I make them all the time. But most of the time, but there are versions of, and most of the time, and 90% of the time, or X% of the time, I stick to the rules. And that's a sliding scale, right? Some people might just want to go house rule all the time, or Grimdark all the time, one-page rules all the time, or I only play 4th edition. I get a lot of comments like that. People saying, sold this edition, had enough, I'm going back to X edition, or I never changed since 2nd edition, and that's good. All these are good. None of them is the right way to play 40k. There is your way to play 40k. You should play 40k your way. If you want to make up missions, good. If you want to make up home rules, good. If you want to go and play socially with a group of people at your club or at an event, then you're going to need to learn the rules without any house rules in it. And many of the videos online show just the rules as is. So that's you. Good chat, Winters. Love the content. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, TSEO. Flow in 3D printing means my friends get trophies when they manage to pull off cool kill. Nice, man. I like it. Sorcerer Dave played some 3rd edition last year and he loved it. Well, Horus Heresy is going to be very similar. Well, not similar. The scaffolding is similar to the 3rd. So there's been 3 editions of 40k, 1st and 2nd. It's the same core inside. And then 3rd to 7th, that's the same core rules inside. And then 8th and 9th, which are the same core scaffolding rules inside. But the scaffolding changed, obviously, from 7th to 8th. 8th to 9th was just a tweak, and then 3rd to 4th tweak, 5th to 6th, 4th to 5th tweak, 6th to 7th tweak along the way. Scaffolding changed, Nate. Will the scaffolding be torn down for 10th edition? I guess that's what I'm advocating in this video. I'd like to see the scaffolding torn down. Do I think they'll tear down the scaffolding in 10th edition? I don't think they will. I think what they'll do is I think they'll tweak the core rules, and I hope that they'll make a difference between grand tournament play, put them in a different mission pack from Eternal War missions, from Maelstrom missions or Tempest of War missions, from open play, from narrative play. I hope it has a distinctly different mission pack. I think that's what they're probably going to do with 10th, and I can see them tweaking the codexes. I hope it's enough to bring about the acceleration that we saw in the community, the number of people joining and playing and enjoying the game that we saw in 8th again. I hope it's enough to bring it about, but I suspect it isn't. I suspect it won't be. I suspect what would kickstart and reinvigorate and draw a lot more people in again, like the acceleration that we saw at 8th, is if the game is as accessible as possible. So an index reset, where everyone starts at the same baseline. And they might do that in 10th and tweak the main core rules a bit. Or they might do it in 11th. I would, if it was me, I would reset the main rules, tidy them up. But I'd reset the main rules, tidy them up, but still use the 8th, 9th core rules. But they need tidying up in places, particularly with Lookout Sir, change it to Hidden, and particularly with terrain and set to defend and some Overwatch jankiness and things like that. There's some tweaks in them that need to change. Get rid of all the keywords, bring in the USRs, but essentially it's the 8th, 9th rules, and then I'd reset with indexes. But that's me. And then I would sell lots of Crusade books, and I would sell lots of mission packs which don't have any additional rule. I would flood the market. Not flood the market, but I'd release a couple of narrative things a month, every month, and build up the narrative back catalogue of Crusade things. So there's hundreds of them. And the Crusade system I would keep in the codex as well, but I'd reduce it down to a couple of pages of how character progression is. Make it very simple, make it very accessible, and have all the cool stuff in there. Have extra reactions or extra wounds or extra toughness or extra skills that you can tag on. You don't need to have whole... Anyway, so that is where we are. I think I'm about the end of the stream. That's what I would... So let's question and answers. Sam Nash gifted 5 memberships again. Thank you, Sam. You absolute poggers legend. Looking forward to playing some test games of Horus Heresy with you, with your Mechanicum or with your Iron Warriors, I believe they are. So you and me, Sam, are going to play some games and not film them. I've got a couple. I've been talking to Jerome. Is he up there? Yeah. Talking to Jerome about doing a couple and not filming them, and Alex SEO and not filming them, and a couple of maybe Warsmith Chris. I want to do at least 5, maybe 6, a good chunk of Horus Heresy games before I start filming them. And then, of course, it won't overrule any 40k content that I put out. It'll be as well as, for anyone wondering, because I just want to play the game. I love the game. I love 40k, Space Marines. And I want to start leaning towards, working towards playing that Isfahan 3 campaign, which of course you can take part in if you want to. So yeah, I think the chat seems to have dried up to 2 chats a minute. I've been on for an hour and 40 minutes, and we do try to keep these to an hour. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for the donations this evening. Thank you once again to everyone who came along to the DZTV Weekender, including the open day on the Saturday and the open day on the Sunday, and the Hobby Apocalypse on the Sunday. If you want to meet me and come to another community event, then there's the Wild West Showdown at the 8th of October at Farstorm Games in Cardiff. Tickets are only 15 quid. It's 2 games of 1,500 points with lunch. And so you can drive there, play your 2 games, come back again. There's a raffle around lunchtime where we'll be giving away loads of prizes. It's run by Monkey, but I'll be there and you'll have a chance to play against me. I'm one of the raffle prizes because I can't play you all. And there's about 40 tickets left. We will fill the hall with about 100 people in it. So if you don't want to come to a tournament but want to come to a hobby weekend, then that's the one for you. And tickets are available to deploymentzone.tv supporters and to channel members. Thank you all the channel members and subscribers and everyone clicking, liking and subscribing to this video. Consider trying Grimdark just to see. No, I'm not going to consider Grimdark. It's no, Lee Harvey. I play 40k as given, and if I want to house rule some things myself, I'll house rule some things myself, like the Apocalypse rule set, or like some of the things I do. Just like everyone else out there house rules stuff that they do. Like I say, there's a scale. Some people house rule a tiny bit, some people house rule 0, some people use Grimdark. And there's people everywhere in between, and it's your 40k. Play 40k your way. And have as much fun as you can, as much fun. See, and the reason why I don't play, and I'm not going to play Grimdark rules, is because I enjoy meeting people off the internet, strangers off the internet. I've met many strange men and women off the internet and invited them round to my house and played 40k with them. And I couldn't do that if it was Grimdark, because a lot more people play Warhammer 40k than Grimdark rules. So I love you too, Lee Harvey. Good night. Fluffy list without penalty. Amen to that. Yes. Fluffy list without penalty is a good thing as well, because objective secured. As a USR, you could pick up Codex Space Marines and it says White Scars. Any bike unit or ATV or attack by unit in White Scars list gain objective secured. Objective secured means this unit always scores, and it's in the main rulebook and it's in the USR. You can move objective secured around, and it for different Beotan Wraith, not Knights, you know, the Wraith Bone guys, Wraith Blades, Wraith Swords, those guys, Wraith Cannons, them, give them objective secured if you make Beotan. Iron Hands, Dreadnoughts, objectives. Anyway, there's loads of things you can do, but keep it around a thing. Thank you, Sam, for hanging around for these gifted memberships. We've got 2 that have been given out so far. Fluffy list without penalty. It's working then. Thanks, Mr. Nash. Yeah, you have to click on, because there's 2 received. On YouTube, you have to click on accept gifts or something. Not winners. Liam did a video on it, explaining that you have to have something to, I don't know how it works. Is it up here? You have to have something clicked on your YouTube. There we go. Foxy was gifted a membership by Sam Nash. So Foxy is obviously clicked on a thing that allows them to receive the gift from Sam Nash. And if you haven't clicked on the can I receive, yeah, someone explain it in the chat. So thank you to everyone who came along to the Weekender. I look forward to seeing many of you at the one-day Wild West event at Farstorm Thingy Bob. I've said thank you. Gifted me one. Yeah, I think we're done. I'm still deep into 40k lore. I love the books. I couldn't afford to chase the meta and buy new rules all the time. Yeah. yeah, chase the meta and buy new rules at the time it's crazy. So they need to reset the rules so you don't have to chase the meta as much, and so things are balanced more through the point system rather than the rules changes. Because chasing the meta right now is let's learn the new set of rules, let's learn the new set of rules, let's learn the new set of rules. If, for example, when the new Genestealer Cult books come out, someone told you, well, actually, Genestealer Cults all get fleet and relentless. You're like, okay, cool, I know what they do now. Okay, right, okay. You don't have to learn the whole thing. Foxy, yeah, just clicked on the gift notification. See, that's how it works. You've got to click on the gift notification and then you can receive a gift. Because if you haven't told it that you can do that, then you can't get them. And what the YouTube algorithm does is tries to pick people who are more active in the chat. So if you're more active than other people and actively participating in the live stream, you're more likely to receive gifted memberships from any live stream that you happen to take part of. So I am going to wrap it up here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Monkey and Inquisitive X, and for my moderators for being there and smashing and helping everyone. And happy wargaming. Don't press that. Press this. Winters is going okay.